Welcome back to Celebrate Story. I'm so glad you're here. And today I am going to be interviewing another mom that I met at the Celebrate Moms Lunch with the Sun Project. If you didn't already have a chance, go back and listen to the previous episode where we talk more about the Sun Project and about the vision of the Sun Project.
Welcome
To Celebrate
Story.
Welcome to Celebrate Story.
with my mom.
My mom,
It's my mom. With my mom.
With my wife.
Joy Rano.
Julie Wagner. Julie Wagner.
One other note, instead of the typical background noise of occasional children screaming and laughing and dogs barking, you might hear motorcycles in the background. We're in a conference room in Kannapolis to have the best format to be able to talk with these mothers. And we just wanted to let you know, it's not a motorcycle going by your house. It is actually the background noise in this conference room. I am so thrilled to be sitting here with Maddie. I met Maddie in May at the Celebrate Moms Lunch put on by the Sun Project, and I am so honored that she would share a part of her day. And let me ask her a few questions. And so thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Maddie.
No problem. I'm super excited to be here.
Yes.
Very excited.
And I'm so glad you're here. And so I want to just jump right in. And I first want to ask you, just can you share a little bit about how old your baby is? Anything basic you'd like to share about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Maddie. I'm 21 years old. I have a 6-month-old daughter. She has a disability. She has a cleft palate, which causes her to have a G-tube. And yeah, so 6-month baby. I do have a fiance, and we all live together. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I've met Maddie's baby, and her baby is beautiful. I literally had to restrain myself back when I met Maddie at this luncheon because I wanted to just oogle over your beautiful baby. So I can't believe your baby is 6 months old. Congratulations.
I know, almost 7 months on the 10th. So
almost 7 months on the 10th.
Can't believe it.
I love that you're counting by the month. I love that so much.
Yeah.
So sweet.
It flies by so fast when you count by the month. It's like, because she was born on the 10th, so like the 10th of every month, I'm like, yep, she's another month old.
It does. It's so cliche, but it is so true that it flies so fast. I have a 20-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I'm like, I marvel when I look back. I can't believe how much time has passed.
Yeah. And it flies by so fast.
It does. Well, I want to jump right in to ask. So we met at the Sun Project Celebrate Moms Lunch, and I just wanted to ask you to tell a little bit more about what that lunch was like for you. Because I've told the listeners before just how moving and inspiring the lunch was and how I hunger for truth telling in this very busy world. And I was so in awe of the journey that many of you all indicated that you went through, and that just the steady direction of healing that you all are committing to. And I was very moved by your vulnerability and your courage in this lunch. And I just would love to hear a little bit more about what the lunch was like for you.
Yeah. It was a little nerve-wracking to me because, you had to get out there and be vulnerable. Well, and I feel like that was a good time to be vulnerable. I think it gave it a platform to share a story. And, I think it was awesome that they did that. CHA they have been so awesome to me. Literally, when I tell you they've saved my life, they have. I came here when I was pregnant. I found out I was pregnant while I was in the midst of addiction. So, I obviously when I found out I was pregnant, I'm like, okay, I need to do something. I'm not going to be a parent who's on drugs. I'm either going to keep the baby and get clean, or I'm going to continue. And, I was looking for a reason to stop using. It's just, it's so hard when you're there. And it's hard.
I can only imagine. I'm like, when I try to take a moment and put myself in the shoes, try to imagine it. I've had pregnancies where I'm like, wow, we weren't know forever, but we weren't ready. And it is an intense emotional experience to try to adjust to. I can't imagine if I was in the middle of something that I was trying to already get out of. Like the heavy weight on that is, I can only imagine, is so hard. And that almost like takes us back further, because it's like, I think I heard a quote once that like, what we need to learn to do is not pass on our pain, but transform our pain. And I think about the times that I've struggled with different compulsive behaviors in my life. Like I'm passing on the pain to myself rather than like moving the pain through my body. Like I guess this is my long way of saying I'm in awe of the courage it takes to make those decisions. So, okay, so you came to CHA and you feel like they really literally saved your life because you wanted a way out. Do you feel comfortable going back, like taking us back to the beginning of like, because I know a lot of people don't understand that addiction is rooted in trauma.
It does.
And
it does.
If you want to share anything about that, we would love to hear more about that.
Yeah. So I think where it all started was in my childhood. Yes. I was probably about 12 years old when things started happening. Now, I've always been a kid who was in school who had like attention problems, like always wanted attention. Well, that's what they said, like, oh, why is Maddie always acting out? Oh, it's because she wants attention. She has ADHD. So, I mean, I've always dealt with my mom putting me into like therapy and psychiatry, all this stuff as a young kid. So I think that labeled me as, okay, I want attention. So I'm an attention seeker, So I think that already gave me a stigma, like, okay, so I have problems, Well,
which is so heartbreaking because we all need attention.
Yeah.
Just the mother in me wants, like, we all deserve attention.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So it's messed up because, now that I'm growing older, I see more of things. And, you're right. I have a problem. I'm normal. I just need love. I wasn't getting the right amount of love. But so... yeah. So after that, I kind of started acting out more and more because I guess I was seeking attention in, different places instead of getting it at home, and so it, let's see.
Because we'll take negative, all of us will. We'll take negative attention over if we don't have the positive attention.
Yeah, we will take negative attention. So when I was about 12 years old, my mom took me out of school to go live with my uncle, and he was a traveling nurse at the time, and he had 3 kids. And, what ended up happening is, long story short, my uncle ended up taking my virginity. So I think that caused a lot of childhood trauma for me at 12 years old. It started with me thinking I had a crush on my uncle, and I always blamed myself for it. And, now that I'm getting older, I'm like, it wasn't my fault. I thought that was a father figure, and I've had trauma. So, to me, I took it as a crush because it was everything I wanted as a dad, And so, yeah, after that happened, it ended badly. Yeah, he sent me on a plane home right after it happened. And I was left stuck feeling like, what's going to happen now? Like, I thought this was, I didn't know what it was. I was 12 years old. I mean, my dad was very abusive when I was younger. And so, I've had trouble seeking what a father figure was and stuff like that. So yeah, when I went home, I think I ran away. I started running away. I started hanging out with the wrong crowd.
So were you 13 around this time?
Yeah, I was about to turn 13, yes. Wow. So I was probably just turned 12 when it all happened. And that year, all that stuff happened. And then I turned 13 and yeah. So I started running away, and that's when I eventually started getting into drugs. And I think it gave me a feeling that I was always looking for, like a comfort feeling. And it just filled that void that I was always looking for, that I was always looking for. So
that I can't help but take a moment and I'm so sorry. I'm so in admiration of your courage to come to the table and share. And I'm also moved by, I think many listeners will be able to relate to your story because it's sadly so prevalent. And it's such a temptation for a child to be like, this is my fault. This is all my fault. And it's so tragic.
Yeah.
It's so tragic. And
I've taken that with me like all my life since that's happened. Like I literally did not tell until 2 years later. So down the line, skip forward, I turned like 14. And, one night I was out running the streets and I come home and my mom's drinking wine and she's up late and she said, hey, come sit down, talk to me. And I'm like, hey, Mom. So we're talking and she's like, hey, what's your biggest secret? Like, would you mind sharing with me what's your biggest secret? And I was like, well, Uncle Tommy took my virginity. And she's like, whoa, like it all stopped. Like just the quietness in the air said everything. It's just like she was not expecting that.
What was that moment like for you? Were you hungry for her to ask, or were you like,
I was actually skeptical because I did not want to get him in trouble. So
you were trying to protect him.
I was trying to protect for a long, long time. I wanted to protect him because I felt like if I would have told, he would have gotten in trouble. So I don't think I was expecting her to freak out like that because to me it was like, I thought it was me. I've always thought it was my doing. So when I thought that, I don't know, for some reason I was so young, so I guess I just thought it was like normal, but like I kept it a secret because like, I didn't want him to get in trouble. I didn't want, that's family. So, I mean, obviously there's some wrong there. And as I got older, I'm like, I always think about it. So, yeah, I think I was waiting to tell her because it was one of my biggest secrets, but also, what she did next was not what I wanted her to do. So
she was emotionally dysregulated?
Yeah, she was very emotionally dysregulated. She actually started calling people. I told her not to tell anybody. I was like, you can't tell anybody. But of course, as a mom, of course she's freaking out. This is her baby and she's telling her like, and I think to her it answered a lot of questions on why I was so troubled when I came home, because all she's looking at is, Maddie's came home, she's running away, she's off doing drugs, she's, I'm sure she has a lot of questions on why I'm doing this and I never would tell her, I've always shut her out. So it answered a lot of questions for her. I was always getting in trouble. I was on 24-hour house arrest. So like this was answering all her questions. She's like, I think it was a relief to her that I told her because I think she knew something was bothering me as a mom. And I think it frustrated her that I just would not open up to her. So when I did tell her, I think she did have some relief, like, oh, she's opening up to me. But like, also as a mom, you're freaking out because you're like, what?
But what about you? My heart, the mother heart in me is like, what about you? Like, you're there at that table and you just had this like impossible to handle trauma, even though in your childlike mind, you're like, I've got it because it's my fault. Like it's like, so am I hearing you right that it was almost a trauma on top of another trauma? Like she's not seeing you or soothing you or making you feel safe? Is that?
Well, no, what ended up happening was when I did tell her, I told her not to tell anybody. And the first thing she did was start calling. I have a bunch of aunts and uncles and he was my uncle. So he calls his sister and my dad because it's my dad's half brother. So she gets on the phone and she's like, Maddie's like, she's telling everybody like, and what made it worse was that nobody believed me because I've been such a troubled child. So like that really caused so much because I did not even want to tell to begin with. And when I did, it's like, I didn't want you to say anything to anybody. And now it's being perceived like I'm lying because I waited so long to say anything or I'm always getting in trouble. And so this is my way of trying to get attention because remember, I'm an attention seeker. So it's like, it's like either way I felt like, geez, like this is just horrible because, it's just something I didn't even want to do. And now that I did it, and, I think what hurt the very, very most was not that everybody was, whether they believe me or not, that didn't even matter to me. What mattered to me the most was when she got in touch with my uncle, and the way my uncle reacted, I mean, just completely bashing me, like throwing me on, like just literally like, oh, she's an attention seeker. That's why you sent her with us. She's a liar. I would never and that broke my heart the worst. Cause I'm like, I didn't want to get him in trouble, but like just hearing how he could blatantly lie, and his wife, who used to accuse him of messing with me, completely took his side, of course, which is funny because she accused us, she was accusing us the whole time that I was down there. I'm going to get the text messages from Verizon and all this stuff. And now when I do tell, it's like, oh, no, she's lying. But you guys suspected it. I literally told when I was down there that he kissed me, and it was this whole big thing, but it just got dismissed. So
it got dismissed. So how on earth, like that? First of all, thank you. You shared this treasure of insight, of just the power of the human spirit and of pain, and it's sacred. And thank you for sharing that. I'd love to hear more about how did it go from, because for me, when I imagine that, it feels, I get this feeling of that feels so hopeless and despairing. And to me, I would imagine that many people in your situation would, I would imagine, you correct me if I'm wrong, but that there would just be a feeling of hopelessness. So it's of course, any substance that would bring me any relief from that amount of pain, I would need something to soothe myself, to help me feel safe, to help me feel, I would need that. It would be an absolute, so that it's fast forward, you said that you wanted to get clean. You didn't want to stay in this, but yet this was also what was comforting you in these multiple traumas.
Trauma that I've never dealt with. I was never, and I've always been scarred from therapy and psychology, or, psychiatrists and all that. So I never wanted to go get help, so I always, in the back of my mind, threw it in the back of my mind and did drugs to, forget about it. That was my trauma mechanism, was acting like it didn't bother me, throw it in the back of my mind, move on, just move on. But little did I know that caused me to have so much problems in my adulthood, because I never dealt with things that happened in my childhood. And, I always say that, I self-sabotage, and I do because of stuff like that. I do because of all my trauma. And so, I literally was just so used to self-sabotaging, and I was so sick of it. I was so tired of, doing drugs and just living in misery, being sick, always searching. Because, drugs temporarily fill that void, but they don't permanently fix it. So it's you're always seeking a drug, and it's just after a while, it just stops working, So I was desperately looking for a way out, and so when I got pregnant, I was like, this is my time. This is God showing me, okay, he's giving me a miracle to literally remove myself. I don't have to live like this. I have something to live for, because I never thought I was enough to live for, obviously, like you were saying, you feel hopelessness. And I didn't have no reason to live. I didn't want to live, what was there to live for? I mean, just those feelings. And so, yeah, when I got pregnant, she saved my life. I literally had something to devote my energy and time into, and coming to CHA, it was so awesome because...
And how did you find out about it, if you don't mind sharing? How did you even know? You're feeling desperate, you're feeling in despair, you want to get out, but you have no idea how. You need more and more of what doesn't change a thing. How, who was the person or the flyer?
I think it was my mom. So, I was out on the streets. I was with the father of my child, and I found out I was pregnant. And so we're like, we got to do something here. I was saying that. We both agreed, look, we got to do something. So I called my mom, and I'm like, Mom, because she's always told me, Maddie, I don't support what you do, but when you're ready to get clean, you always have a home here. So, I've always put that in the back of my mind, okay, this is a safe place. When I'm ready to do it, I can go here.
So you were literally living on the streets.
Yeah, literally on the streets.
So you have lived experience with what that's like to be not knowing where you feel safe.
Yeah, no, not having a home, not having like a place like where I know, like a stable place, a safe spot. So I was like, I'm going to go home. And she actually was very cool with letting him come and, supporting us if we were willing to do it. As he got a job, I came home and, I withdrawed the first 2 days I was home because I couldn't use. And so she was like, I have a place where I hear about, and she volunteers at the syringe exchange. So yeah, cause this journey has opened my mom up a lot. Like really, she wanted to relate to me so much that she started doing research and like trying to go to these groups where moms who have kids who are addicts and like, so she started volunteering at the syringe exchange here.
So beautiful.
Thank you. And, she started volunteering here, and
so that's how she knew all about this, since she volunteered in the Sun Project or in the syringe exchange clinic. Yeah. She knew all about the Sun Project and was just waiting.
Yeah, was just waiting for me to come to her. And, it's funny because they actually deal with pregnant women. So as soon as she found out I was pregnant, she's like, I have a place for you. Like, if you're ready, come on. So yeah, that's how we did it. And the first 2 days I withdrawed, and she brought me up here, and Dr. Suda literally was like, they wanted me to do all this paperwork, but I was on the floor like dying.
Because you're in withdrawal.
Yeah.
You're physically and pregnant. I can't imagine.
Oh God.
Withdrawing
so bad. It gives me such an eerie feeling knowing that I had a baby in my tummy during all this. I mean, it's just, it's so heartbreaking. I just, I just, I'm just glad I was able to get out of that, for her, because she doesn't deserve this. She didn't ask to be here. And I think a lot of how I am as a mom today is based off of what I went through in my childhood, like the things I wouldn't do to my kid that other people made me feel, I always want her to know that she can come to me. I accept her the way she is, I just want her to know that she has a major support system. It doesn't matter what she decides to do with her life. I will always be here for her.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I have to say it. I'm glad you got clean for you too. I'm glad you got clean for her, but I'm glad you got clean for you because you deserve it.
Yeah.
And I'm overcome with emotion thinking, just imagining I almost imagine like a metaphorical weight of what it took for you to take each step. And I'm just seriously in awe, like seriously in awe. So it's like you come to the Sun Clinic, you're physically in withdrawal. Your mom has all these resources that she starts connecting you to. So then did you start begin that trauma work? I know probably for the rest of our lives, we'll all be doing trauma work, but like, did you begin that trauma work at that point while pregnant?
I think when I got clean, I was able to start dealing with some of the stuff in my past. Have I fully gotten, help with the trauma I've been through? No, I'm still going through it, but I'm at a place in my life where I have something to live for. So, it's like, she makes me happy. She's everything that I ever needed. So, I mean, that to me is enough.
It's enough.
Yeah. So, but yes, I am currently opening up and going to therapy and stuff like that. And, it's all still new to me because she's only 6 months old. This is all so new. So I'm still like, it's very, very new.
Do you feel like you're in another world?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just so glad I got clean because it's just, it's a totally different world. It's just such a blessing to feel normal. I think a lot of people take that for granted, just being here and being normal. It's so great. A lot of people take that for granted.
Maddie, that's so powerful what you said. A lot of people take it for granted. And another thing I think was so powerful that I never, ever want to forget is that you said, you just remarked that I'm still in this and I'm just beginning this because I struggle deeply with perfectionism. And I don't know, I need all the reminders in the world that like, we're still always doing the work. Like we're still doing it. We're going to keep on going and still keep doing that. Wow. So people take for granted what is normal, which what else do you think people take for granted that don't understand what it's like to be living in active addiction and be walking the road of recovery? Or do you want to expound more on how people, do you want to paint a picture for me of what that normal that people take for granted looks like?
I think a lot of people are quick to judge addicts and stuff like that. I think we live in a world full of judgmental people, and I feel like everybody's so quick to put their beliefs on other people. And, a lot of people are blessed to not have to go through the things that addicts are going through. But I think, when you judge, it literally creates karma for you. I feel like people are so looking for like, blaming others and stuff like that. But, they, they end up in a whirl of just unhappiness when like, okay, judge an addict. Well, really you're unhappy with your life, not addicted, that's gotta be miserable. I mean, to be normal and not happy. I mean, that's way worse to me,
Wow, you're hitting on this. It's so true because we don't see things as we are. We see things as they are. We see things as we are. We project.
Yeah,
we constantly project. And
like, who am I to tell somebody that they should do the things I do? Everybody's different. That's what makes the world. So who am I to tell somebody that they should do something just because I do it? Everybody's different.
You probably have an insight to that most of us can only try to grasp, because it sounds like, if I'm hearing your story right, like your mom had all these resources, but she did not shove them on you. She did. I mean, how could she not, like, as a human that loves her daughter?
She did at first. And I think it pushed me further.
It pushed you further because you felt controlled or like misunderstood. Like you don't even understand.
She was a judger. She was the same way. And I think it really opened her up. Like, she always used to judge me. Oh, my daughter's a drug addict, da, 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 da. Well, then she started, I think, taking it serious when I've OD'd a couple of times, really almost lost my life, almost died. I mean, if it wasn't for like, I really believe in a higher power, because there's no way that I went through the things that I did and didn't die. I knew I had a purpose when, God kept me alive, something kept me alive because I'm still here and I have a miracle child,
Wow. So what would you say to someone then, and asking for myself, like that has a friend or family member that's in active addiction? Like, how do you, like you were talking about this and I just feel like there were so many things that you said as gems, treasures. Like, what do you say to someone who sees someone they love that is suffering in addiction? Like, what is the most powerful, what would you say? What advice would you give to someone who loves someone who's in active addiction? I'm curious what advice you'd give.
God, that's hard because I could only imagine, as me being the addict, but I think what I would tell somebody is don't try to, everybody has, it's hard because it's like, I think of it differently because it's like, who is to say that they shouldn't be using? Sometimes people need to go through that. Sometimes people need to experience that for themselves. So I never think that people should force getting clean. I think when they're ready, they will. I think, they had that purpose in life. Maybe their last life, they had unfinished business. Maybe they died from OD and now they have to conquer that in this world, Now they have to conquer, getting clean. Everybody has a different purpose. So it's really hard to say, but I would not force trying to get clean, but I would make sure that they know, your loved one who is in addiction knows that you will be there for them when they're ready to get clean. So they know that they have a support system to come home to,
Which is what your mom did. When you're ready, come home.
Yeah. And if she didn't do that, I don't think I'd be here now. If I didn't have her, I don't think I would have ended up this well off now,
Wow. What would you say to add to kind of like sister that question? So that's what you would say to someone who loves someone who's in active addiction. What would you say? What do you wish the world could hear from someone who's been in active addiction, who's in recovery? What is it like? is there anything that you're like, I wish people understood this. I wish people saw this.
Well, I think people in active addiction should listen to their brain, listen to their mind when it's telling them, hey, don't do this, or hey, don't do this. If something's telling you, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Listen to it. That's your own mind telling you, I'm ready to stop this. So, I just wish people were more in tune with themselves,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think yourself will save you from a lot. You just got to pay attention to yourself. Yeah. A lot of people just ignore themselves, ignore things that their own body and mind are telling them,
What is the hardest part now that you're walking in recovery? What is the hardest part right now?
I think dealing with trauma still, like not being where I know I'm supposed to be at my age. Like just, there's things I still battle with, like mentally there's things I still battle with. And, I just really just want to be the best mom to my kid. And some things I feel like I struggle with, and I just want to be the best mom to her. So really it's just mentally I want to get myself together, for her, because she deserves the best. She does. She deserves the world.
What would you want to say in closing, as we wrap up? What would you want to say to her? What would you want to say to her if she hears this podcast, if you share it with her, if you decide it's okay and she hears it, what would you want to say to her?
Well, I just want her to know that she is God's gift and she's a special child, and she literally saved people's lives. She saved me and her father's life. Literally, I've never seen something save two people at the same time and change. She changed the world for us. This is our world and she changed it. And that's special. I want her to know she's very loved and she's so special.
That's so beautiful. And I can't help but absolutely see that you sharing these things is God's gift to people. Like, you are helping people. You're helping people see more of themselves and see more of the people they love. And you are a gift. And I can't thank you enough for your time and your courage and your openness and your vulnerability. And I should have brought a box of tissues. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me on here to be able to share. You're lost in sorrow. You see your yesterdays, but I see tomorrow. You see the darkness, but I see the spark. You know your failures, but I know your heart. You're a young spirit, an old soul with a new chance to grow. I can't start to compare your love to the size of your heart. If people saw the road you've been down, they would know, and you'd never feel alone. No, you wouldn't feel wasted, like an antidote to the world chased by the fears it gave you. Oh, but you're still a young spirit, an old soul with a new chance to grow.
Would you please do me a huge favor? Would you follow, like, share any and all of those things that you'd like to do? I'd be so grateful.